Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And I'm in the Witness Protection Program.
There we
The
go.
man with many names, and shout out to
Many
whoever
names.
is watching us on Instagram. I'm pretty sure I know who
John
it is.
Doe, thank you for joining us.
John Doe. I actually met that guy. Anyways, welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we're doing things a little differently. Hopefully, the sound quality on Instagram Live is better. Give us...
If it's not, let us know, please.
Yeah, let us know in the chat. And also, if you guys can see, we kind of rearranged the seats here.
Yeah.
Kyle's in the hot seat. Doesn't really mean much tonight because we're going to be talking about everything but Kyle. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You both look better from this angle for some reason.
Yeah.
He's a smooth
Why?
talker. Smooth operator.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, so you guys listen to Whatever Works, and on this show we talk about whatever works, and it's the best show to have around because who wants to, 7 o'clock sharp listen to politics, 7 o'clock sharp listen to religion? Joe, no, Joe hates that. Okay, we got a thumbs up, so sound quality is good, so we'll keep it like that. I didn't know that it was
Okay.
actually your
So,
phone that was
yeah.
doing that.
So I kind of had a feeling I was at a client's house and I dropped it, and it dropped right on its back, and I saw like shimmering on the ground.
Shimmering.
Yeah, shimmering.
Oh,
And I
nice.
was like, oh, nice. I turned around, and yeah, look at that.
See, but that's the camera. I didn't know it was like that's where the sound
like the
came
whole
from.
back. Let me see. Like the whole back of it.
Who else
Shattered.
out there
Oh,
lives,
dang.
lives
Yeah.
for their phone? Look at that. Oh, my God.
Shattered.
Yeah.
Completely
Wow.
shattered.
See, you know what my problem is? I got the camera lens protector, the screen protector. I got a case. Me thinking, hey, I got all that. I can
Oh, I
just
bought
be
a better
lousy
case.
and clumsy with my phone. Well, my camera lens is, shattered. My phone screen is cracked. I'm like, damn,
Do you get insurance on your phones?
I did, but it only covers like the first 2 years.
Right.
This is like year 3.
Right.
Dang.
I trade mine out after 2.
Yeah.
I'm an
After
old
2.
guy. I work,
Well,
and
that's-
I'm always busting up a phone,
Yeah.
so it always has a cracked screen on it.
You know what you need? You need a flip phone.
Right.
Flip phones
I had
never
one of those
break.
back in the day. They had all kinds of stuff.
I heard they're bringing the Razr back. The Motorola. You guys hear about that?
Wow.
Yeah, they're bringing the Razr back, and
I
they're gonna
wonder
have
how
screen on the
popular that's
back
gonna
and the
be.
front.
I don't think it's gonna be that too popular.
It's already gaining a lot of steam. People are excited.
I really enjoy the flip phone because I used to
Yeah.
like put it on my waistband. I used to pull it out like I was like a FBI agent. Pull out a badge.
Mhm.
It was indestructible. I can throw it at someone. You know what I mean? Pick
That's
it back
true.
up,
But,
chase him down.
But the Razr was the ultimate flip phone. Everyone had one.
I don't think I ever had a Razr. I'm not even sure what that is. I had a Juke.
I was like a little bit before its time, maybe. I don't know.
You better stop. Both of you just stop, because I've had the original. I've had every phone.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was in a transportation business back in '91, and I had every phone that you can imagine in every phone company back in the day. Yeah.
What was your
Yeah.
favorite?
What was my favorite? My favorite, something to talk about, like how people are, right? So that big brick phone, the Motorola
Uh-huh.
that everybody had, you used to pretend you were on the phone because it was like $2 a minute. That's what it would cost you to talk on the phone. So you would like pretend you were talking on the phone just to look cool.
Oh, okay.
I got money. I can
Stupid.
talk all day.
Yeah. So I got this hooked up,
One way to flash your money, dude.
And I had another one in a bag that looked like a little ditty bag, but it was like a phone you pull out of a bag. It was like Get Smart stuff. I don't know if you know what that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Okay. Like your phone or something in your shoe.
Right.
Some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they had one like a pencil. At one time they tried to get down to the smallest
small as you can,
And they
right?
found out everybody's losing. You can't.
Right.
Right.
You
You
losing
lose
the
it.
couch and the,
Right,
in the
right,
car. or
right. So then
whatever.
they came back with where we're at today. But then what happens is you get old, like me, and I left my simple Android, right? But I left it in the toilet the other day for 15 minutes. Gone, buddy. try to call it from somebody else's phone, turned it off. They were going to sell that sucker, rip everything out of it, and probably make $100 because I just got it last month. So I
Oh,
had
yeah,
to,
you're talking about
I
recently,
had to
huh?
get another one. So you get old and you just do stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. See, I always had really cheap phones
Yeah,
because
me
I didn't
too.
know how to take care of them. And it wasn't until my friend was like, "Hey, dude, I'm getting a new phone," because his family, had money. He's like, "You can have my old phone." It was an iPhone. It was the first time I ever had an iPhone. Before that, it was a flip phone. So I like major upgrade. But even then, like I just wasn't like responsible.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, there was this like major like brown recluse like walking across the back of your board right there. You just crawled.
You're
in.
kidding.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they want to be
I
on
know
the
what
show
they look
too.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
nice.
This guy literally flipped the couch a couple weeks ago because he found one. So.
Well, recluse is like the worst one.
Well, okay. We before we got on air, we were talking about longevity and life and all this stuff, and you start talking about phones, you start talking about life and death stuff. You start,
Yeah.
that's every day. That's like a topic, And what I learned
Right.
in life is that most people don't want to talk about death. They get like, they just completely ignore it, right? You don't want to talk about death, right?
Why
You
not?
want to talk, right? So when you start talking about living long and doing all this stuff, I mean, it's important. Everybody knows about it, but when you
Yeah.
You know what's
okay,
funny is actually
looking at trends. I was just thinking about phones and
Yeah.
trends and things. They come
Yeah.
and go, It's
Right.
like,
Yeah. Well, so is life. Comes and goes.
Yeah, and I've recently, not recent. I've always known this when I was a kid. Going to church, I went to a small church. Everyone is like on the verge. They're almost there. You know what I mean? And they talk about death more than anyone,
Yeah.
and they make light jokes about it.
Yeah.
Because they know it's coming. So they
Yep.
try to, and it's so weird because as a little kid, I'm like, yo, like, don't you know? Like they're like 80, like approaching 90, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
every few months we hear about one of, the people there,
Mhm.
and it's just like the older people get. And you know what someone told me actually here on the air, I had a couple people from prison come on the show and interview them. But the first guy
I've been to jail before.
and it was
Oh, anyway.
it's
go
not how
ahead.
it's not how they depict it. But I was talking to this one guy, and I was like, oh man, like as you get older, time flies. And he's like, you want to know why? And I was like, why? He's like, because you're getting closer to death. Like subconscious, like,
Guys in the
and
back
that's a
laughing.
guy coming from prison. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like for him, I'm sure like being in prison, time slows down. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
probably not enough activity for your brain to be like, oh, time's flying. You know what I mean?
Okay, so like the compliment to that out in the world is that older people get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're always out walking and stuff, and then they're in bed by 8:30, right? And you're like, well, why would they do that? Because I certainly don't want to wake up that early, right? It's like,
You
why
don't
do
want
they do
to,
that? Why
but-
do they do that? Well, less time on the planet.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thought, right? I'm gonna get up and get this day.
Like
'cause-
subconsciously though.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
anyone really thinks like that all the time. Because
Right.
then that would cause a lot of stress, and that would cause you to die faster. Like,
Right. We
you
were
know
just
what I mean?
there's stress, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like your song in the what is it? Never stressed.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
I
What?
mean,
Yeah.
it's very hard, but like
It's an ideal,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. The less you can stress, the more. And okay, what is stress? Like, what causes stress? How can you combat stress? You know what I mean? Because like realistically, if you are thinking in the present, right, you shouldn't like right now. If you're thinking about right now, you shouldn't be stressed. I mean, yeah, you got bills and you got food. You might be hungry, things like that. Your girlfriend might be yelling at you when you come home. But,
Well, I don't know.
like present moment right now. Are you stressed?
If that brown recluse comes back and is right here in the present moment,
But
I'll
because you're
be
not living in the
stressed.
No,
present.
it's
You're
crawling
not-
up your back
You're not
right
living in
now.
the present.
Then I'll be stressed in the present.
We'll watch it right here. He'll be like,
Yeah.
There's a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers.
What?
Right, and it's a real thing,
Yeah.
and the reason being is because they kind of have like goldfish, right? They don't
Their
think
attention
too much.
span?
Yes, and so what happens? Like, okay, a lion comes out. They're just eating grass, they're doing their thing. Lion comes out, right? Scratches one of them, but they escape. Right. 20 minutes later, they're out in the grass, just eating grass again. They're not stressing about what happened
before.
before. or what's going to
What's gonna
happen,
happen.
later.
Yeah.
And ulcers grow and they stay, and it's harder for your body to heal when you're in a mental state of stress.
Right.
So they wrote a whole book about why zebras don't have ulcers, and it's all to do about stress levels.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'll have to check it
And
out.
a lot of us over time, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we all have something to stress about. Everyone.
Yeah.
Because we're humans. You know what I mean? And whether it's our own stress or it's an outside source or whatever it is, it's like, okay, we're all going to deal with stress, but how can we reduce that amount of stress that we're dealing with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of it is coming from an outside source. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I told my lady the other day, using a metaphor, right? Like everyone's a ship in an ocean, and waves are coming over trying to swallow you whole. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't let these waves sink you. You know,
No.
all this outside material or people or anything trying to bring you down. You can't. It's all up to you, whether you're gonna sink or float.
Yeah,
You know?
well, Marcus Aurelius said, "Be the rock the waves crash into."
Dude, I love Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, he's one of the best, and you know that just kind of gets me thinking. And Bruce Lee also said something similar.
Be like water.
Well, not only that, he says, "Don't pray for an easy life. Pray that you can endure a difficult one."
Right.
Because stress is bad, it's true, but I think we all need like at least a little bit of it, because the after effect is motivation, right? Because you don't want to be in that stressful spot, so you're gonna figure out a way to get out of it. So it's gonna motivate you.
And it's gonna build your character.
It's gonna build your character. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
And a lot of things. Okay, so like the gym is a great example, right, of putting yourself under these situations, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, instead of saying I can do 10 reps, like no problem. Well, why don't you try to shoot for 12 or 15? And if you're doing that, like everything you do is basically a pattern in your life that you're creating.
Yeah.
And so if you are trying to go beyond your limits, facing adversity at the gym at this level, imagine when like you do things that you don't want to do. Basically, what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Because when it comes to business, and there's things you don't want to do, you're gonna do it anyways. Because you're building that mentality. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like that stress level of like I don't want to do it, and freaking out, compared to I don't want to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole different level, and that goes with everything in life. The things that you
True.
don't want to do. Like someone told me, he says, "Hey, don't do it." He said, "It's not do what you can, it's do what you can't." Right?
Yeah.
Because if you just do what you want to do or do what you can do, you're not growing in character, you're not growing in spirit, emotionally, or anything like that.
Yeah, and you always want to be growing.
Because if you don't grow,
Yeah.
opposite effect. I was going to say something, but I kind of lost my train of thought.
It's funny sitting here listening to these guys because they're already like they're in that whole thinking it through and trying to get a sense of what it's like and all this stuff. And I'm 61 years old.
Well, you're 61?
Yeah, I
I had to
am.
repeat that twice. My bad.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, okay, remember, brain injured guy, right? Having to survive that and being forced to think in the moment versus what's happened before and what can happen later. So I wouldn't be able to do that. I wasn't the type of person. I was that motivated business guy out there just going, dun, 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 and just couldn't stop. So I was like extreme that way. And so I wasn't going to stop. So I got stopped with the injury, and it made me sit back and relax more. I had to stop. I couldn't think, for one thing, you order my thoughts and whatever. So you had to be patient with yourself. But I didn't. I did what normal people do. I got depressed. All of those things that happens to you when you're not who you used to be, or that idea of your identity, when
Right.
it's taken away from me, or it's like some outside source did it to you. But
Right.
but the reality is that you then come up and you create something for yourself, and that uncomfortable is true. Somewhere down the track, you go, oh, you know, all that stuff I listened to and those tapes and those motivational stuff, and okay, fine. But the reality is, like, how does that affect you in your environment? What can you tell someone else who's just freaking out? You know, I mean, if you've ever been to like a rehab center or any
all
of
the time,
right?
All the
Like,
time.
you know, where people have tried to kill themselves, or they've been cut, or they're cutting or doing their stuff.
Yeah.
You start to realize that they were at a point where they thought that just can't handle it. Like, it's just too much, and maybe so.
See,
You know what I'm saying? Like, people on the outside, like, I grew up in a time when it was like you were weak if you know, talked about your problems, or
Right.
if you know, any sense of, you know, therapist. Are you kidding? Psychologist? You know, you don't go there.
Right.
Everybody, and still later down the track, when it even became more acceptable in the job type careers that I was in, you couldn't do that. You know, everybody knew you're going to walk in toward the psych. You know, it's like, so now, you know, all eyes on you. So
Right.
I mean, you ultimately come out of that with some. I mean, it's great to talk about it and get into it, but functionally, what is it that you can tell a person who's in the middle of all of it and it's just too much, right? How can you pull them out of that? And that's what makes a big difference, you know,
So
in their life.
right, and the thing that really helped me, you know, at one point, like, even though I went to church all the time when I was a little kid, it was, you know, I was forced to go to church, right? And then at one point I was spiritual, and then now I'm religious. And there was one thing that helped me a lot, and it was, you know, they said, like, God won't put you in a situation that you can't work through. You know,
Yeah.
He's not going to put you in a spot that you can't prevail in. You know what I mean? So when people are on the deepest, darkest side of themselves, if they believed in God, or if they even had a hint or even like a desire to believe in God, and they heard that word or that phrase saying, like, God wouldn't put you through anything that you can't come out of, you know what I mean? That, for me, that gave me self-motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to
know?
remember, okay, like when you talk in those frames, okay, so remember, I was the atheist and now the believer. So I've been on both sides of the track, right? So you've got this doctrine that isn't written for people who aren't that. The doctrine is written for people, any doctrine is written for the people of that religion or that whatever. It's not written for the people who don't have it, like,
Yeah.
they're not following it, or they, you know, that's not their thing. So as an atheist, it was like, it's all you. And this is what creates this insurmountable pressure on a person, because you're like, it's all me. You know, everything is my fault. Everything is my, you know, and so you get to the end of yourself, and that's how you can kill yourself. Because you have no hope. You have no other thing outside of that
Yeah.
which you've created.
Right.
See, different mindset.
But
So
it's
this is,
also
this
like-
is the hard part, right? Okay, so let's say you've got this somehow spiritual thing going on and all this stuff, and you're trying to speak to someone who doesn't have that in their life, or hasn't built it, or doesn't know anything about it. You know, I mean, they're basically trusting the sincerity of your heart. You know what I'm saying? To deliver this information. I'm not saying that you don't try. You do, and then that's a lot of people flip the switch at that point, and they do head the other direction. I've not only heard the stories, I've been in the middle of that. Some, you know, the idea that someone would have a gun to their head and say, "You got somebody a sign if you're real, if you're whatever," and my two buddies knocking at the door of that house. Goes to the door, with a gun down here, and like, "Who are you guys?" You know, like that. And that guy ended up, and instead of a gun in his head and up, ended up in the church and doing some stuff. I mean, helping other people out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can. I used to always be like, whatever. What use is all that stuff? It's just it's like the social program. Everybody getting together to do their little thing, and right. But I mean, really, we need that as people. I mean, we keep getting told we don't need it. You gotta do it, individual. You got it right. But you put all that pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And you will reap the benefit of it. You will reap that.
There's a couple things that you brought up that I wish I was writing notes on. But one of them was like, it's all you, and you're creating yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So like, knowing that, and the other part when you were talking about is like them not knowing God or anything like that, or not knowing, you know, about signs or signals or anything. Like, to me, it's almost like a rejection. You know what I mean? Because there's certain things that you want in life, whether it's, you know, God's plan or your plan. But what we want, it's like, okay, even if God gave us that opportunity, which is a big thing, or a sign in the direction that we should go to, if it's not in line to what we see, we ignore it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we think, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm waiting for.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like the biggest thing is when people go through these troubles, like I know some people are like, hey, you know, I asked God to help me out and give me strength, right? Instead, he turns around and stabs me in the back, and now I'm struggling. Okay? When you ask God for strength, is he giving you strength, or is he giving you the opportunity
Right. Something
to gain strength?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're asking for love, is he going to give you love, or is he giving you the opportunity for love? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look at the Bible, right? Every single struggle that's happened in the Bible, God has given them the power to do.
Mm-hmm.
Moses parting the Red Sea. He didn't go around the Red Sea.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't go around all the Egyptians. God gave him the strength to face the Egyptians head on and part and go through the Red Sea. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, from an atheist standpoint, you know, just talking about hell, right? And everyone talks about, oh, fire, this and that. One of the ways hell is described is absence of God. So hell is the place where God does not exist. And so when you're in that mindset, I've always wanted to know, like, from an atheist telling another atheist to stand down, to not end it. What's going through that head? You know what I mean?
Well, again, the only thing that you throw out, even from that point, is hope.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what you're there. You're there. You're like, well, why live? You know, somebody's going to ask you straight up. You know, well, why? Why should I be here? Why should I live? Well, what's the first thing in your mind? All the things that could be, that can be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just life in its existence itself even seems like something more than when somebody's looking at it as something less.
Right.
So I mean, you have to be really convincing, you know. But let's take, you talk about biblical stories, okay? You take a story, like most people know about, like Jonah and the fish and the, you know, like the whale or whatever that sucks him up and he's in a belly of a whale for like 3 days or whatever. There's all kinds of little cartoons and things made.
Yeah.
But the reality is that Jonah was a prophet of God that listened to God's messages and followed that life and did everything. And then all of a sudden, God says, go to Nineveh. Go to these people. Oh my God, those are the worst people on my planet. And God wants me to go over there. No, I'm going to get a ticket for the ship furthest the other direction. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's his choice to fall out of what God's will was for his life.
Mm-hmm.
In other words,
Yeah.
he's on his own program. You just mentioned it just a little bit ago. He's on his own program, not God's program.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately, think about it. You're in the middle of this thing. You're going, you know what? I'm breathing. I'm alive. I'm still here. There's still hope. Why am I here? You know?
Right.
And so just his very existence. You know, but
Yeah.
but he wasn't working his own. He was working his own program. I don't want to go over there.
Yeah.
This is a guy who already was in tune. You know, was supposed to be the poster child for God, if you will. But we do the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's, you know, you can use all the stories, if you want to call them, or accounts, or however you want to see it.
Yeah.
But apply it to real life. You know, what is it about your spin, your direction, your thing? You know, it's your thing. You know, you really have to quiet yourself.
Yeah.
And humble yourself, back up on yourself to be able to see what God's plan or a creator's plan or any plan other than you.
Yeah.
You know, even if you go, there is no such thing, but I'm going to sit here and allow the universe to do what it does. And which way should I go, George? You know, how many people are able to quiet themselves to that point? You know, you hear people, the yoga people, right? There's a ton of that going on again. You know, and why is that?
Yeah.
Because people need to, they realize that they need to stop themselves somehow. Mine was by default. I wouldn't have done it. I'd be dead by now. The way I was living, I would have stroked out. So whatever it is that stops you from running your program, and I know that sounds weird because we're taught, now think about it, even all the success talk and all the stuff, it's all geared toward yourself-ish desires and means and all of that.
Right.
So it's a counter, it seems like a counterproductive thing to tell someone, hey, look, just relax. Don't be so worried about your program and the way you're in the direction you're going. Just live it out, right? It's like, oh my God, no plan, no direction. Oh my God, what am I going to, but that's the thoughts that you get when you put your head on the pillow and you can't sleep, creating more stress.
Yeah.
Because you have this unsurety about where you're headed and what you're doing.
Yeah. And see, and that's one of the things. When I got my blood clots, right, it took me a while to have my blood clots be a gift and not a curse, right? And I really had to sit back and think about, like, okay, why did I get blood clots? Like, why did he give me blood clots, right? It's because I was on my own program, and I wasn't following God's plan, And whether I am or not, what I am now compared to what I was and where I was going is far much further than what I was doing, And so I was like, because I was just thinking about it, like, before that, I was following other people's footsteps, whether it was good, bad, or evil, just because I can. And God the whole time was, like, watching over me. And then he was like, all right, what can I give him to where, like, he doesn't do all this stuff? How can I direct him in the right right path? There's no other explanation that I can think of other than blood clots, because then I couldn't do drugs, I couldn't join the military, I couldn't do this, couldn't do that. And those are all the things that I was just doing because of everyone else was doing.
Right.
And I was thinking more physical rather than more spiritually and more mental. You know what I mean? And so it took me over a year to really sit back and relax. And then the thought of death, right? I didn't know what blood clots were when they told me. My parents were freaking out. I was like, what's the big deal? I don't know what's going on,
Yeah, because at this point, we're just
I didn't
kids.
know. Yeah. And then I found out what it was and how serious it was, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm even, quote unquote, closer to death than what I thought I was, Yeah. And that puts you on the path of, let me get stuff done before I go. And that's what when I talk to people, I'm like, if we were immortal, we wouldn't get anything done. We'll do it next year. We'll do it,
next millennium.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not on time.
Wow.
We got a caller. Let's plug him in. Go ahead. You are on KCAA, whatever works on the radio. You got a question for us?
Whatever works. What's happening?
What's going on?
What's going on?
I'm listening to y'all discussion, and I just want to say before y'all go on break, man, that after I collapsed from my sickle cell trait exertion with the rhabdo, I didn't know that I was mad at myself, so I had to forgive myself for sprinting that morning. But also, what I was left with from 2006 until 2023 is that I was afraid that if I went back to the gym, that the gym was going to kill me.
Oh.
And I didn't know that was what my fear was. There were certain days I would have confidence to go to the gym, but then there would be days where I was like, you know what, I didn't drink enough water today, so I can't go to the gym. But when I unraveled it for what it was, I had the gym. It was going to kill me, like it was coming at me like a knife.
Okay.
And so I had to then tell the truth. The gym doesn't have a knife. And it was more of my fear of having that happen to me again. So I appreciate y'all talking.
Where are you at now with that? What? How long ago was that?
That was 2023 when I unraveled that last piece of that. And so now I go to the gym just to go to the gym. I don't have to go to the gym prove anything to myself, or I have that fear.
So you think it's now in a more proper perspective, right?
Oh yeah, by using, I say if I trust God, and then I have confidence in myself, it helps me take away that expectation I put on myself.
Just before we get to break, so I've been around on the planet a couple of times, and I always tell young people younger than me is that, you're going through stuff like the first cycle of things. So if you're allowed to be here as long as I've been here, most of my friends are dead or were in jail or whatever. We always said, we wouldn't make it to 20, right? But so here I am, and we have this thing where we forget, we go through these things and we like get the lesson and whatever, and then time goes by and we kind of forget, and then something else hits us if we're here long enough. If that didn't kill us, right? And so I can honestly say I'm kind of like a near miss guy, and I've been almost there about 4, maybe 5. I quit counting after about 4 times. And that's the thing, you just keep trudging along, man. And when people say, well, why why do you want to be here? Why? I do, man. I see something new every day. My granddaughter, my 11-year-old granddaughter, just got baptized today.
Oh, congrats.
I'm alive to see that. And I'm like, now I get it. When I didn't have kids, I was that guy. I'm not gonna have kids. And I was about 25, 26 years old. You know what I mean? And like I look and I think, a different perspective, right? A generational perspective versus me. And that's what changed. That's how creator mentality changed me, is that I was the single unit, and now I'm a more others-centered person, Yeah. And so, I wouldn't stand to talk with you more than 3 seconds if you didn't mean money back in the day. But I'd qualify you, and I was gone. You didn't have money. But now it's like everybody's interesting. I'd want to get to talk to you, and find out, really like about your life, and how you got to where you were before all of that happened, and then of course after. And obviously you're a changed person because of it, is the point.
I want to say to Mr. Works, your blood clot story triggered me, because when I came back to Christ and I saw that my sickle cell trait was given to me in my mother's womb, that affliction became more of my why. So I appreciate how you was about to share from your affliction with the blood clot, man. So take care.
Yeah, of course.
God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Bless you.
All right, you guys, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about building ourselves and what we can create in life. So stay tuned, stick around, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. There's one Earth system that constantly affects our lives, yet we hardly think about it. That is, until we turn 50 and we're confronted with the evidence. I'm talking, of course, about gravity. Working against it keeps our muscles toned, and the rest of us, not so toned. But it keeps us standing upright, keeps water in our glasses and in the oceans. In fact, the Earth as we know it couldn't exist without gravity. All objects exert a gravitational pull on other objects. The strength of this pull is determined by the object's size and density. The Sun has more gravitational pull than the Earth, which holds the Earth in orbit around it. The Moon has less than the Earth, and thus orbits around us, but still has enough gravity to pull on Earth's water, causing tides. If the Earth had a smooth surface and were the same density in all places, gravity would be the same everywhere, but it's neither of these things. If you're standing next to a mountain and holding a lead weight on a string, that weight would not hang perfectly straight, but would be drawn slightly toward the mountain. Not enough for you to notice, but measurable with a sensitive instrument. Mountain ranges in general have stronger gravitational pull than, say, oceans, since rock is denser than water. It's the different densities of different places on Earth that cause Earth's gravity to vary. We'll explore the surprising things that changing gravity reveals on a future Earth Date. I'm Scott Tinker, and thank you for listening.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
Hi there, this is Chris Klein, investment manager for Capstone Wealth Management. Hey, I've been through the early 1990s bond market implosion, the late 1990s stock market melt-up, the 2000 to 2002 dot-com crash, the rate hike scare in the mid-2000s, the great financial crisis, the pandemic-induced 2020 collapse, the inflation madness, and, of most recent memory, the 2022 bear market. You know what all these have in common? We helped people just like you navigate their finances through. Hey, my boys say I'm old, but I say I'm battle-tested. Not only that, but I've seen the underbelly of Wall Street, and I know how to call a turd. Sometimes the best investment is the one you don't make. But without experience, how would you ever really know? I can help. I've been blessed to work for a lot of people who have entrusted tens of millions of dollars of their hard-earned capital to me and my team. When you become a part of the Capstone family, you are treated like family. If you'd like to see how we can successfully manage your money and to find out if there's a fit, let's start a conversation. The best way to do that is to shoot us an email. info@careformywealth.com. That's info@careformywealth.com. One more time, info@careformywealth.com. I look forward to working for you and your family.
In these trying times, many people are depressed and lost because the future of our society is up in the air. If you're turning to substance abuse because you're feeling there is no hope, we have a way for you to see the light. SAD, or Stop Abusing Drugs, is a nonprofit organization that will help you at no cost to you stop abusing drugs. Founded by Tony Navarchi, SAD will refer you to the top detox doctors in your area. SAD will pay every and any cost for you, including doctor visits, counseling, and medications. If you need help, SAD is there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you or a loved one needs help, or if you have a suggestion or idea for Tony, you can reach out to him by calling 844-493-3386. That's 844-493-3386. Or email Tony at tony@saddetox.com. That's Tony at SADDETOX.com.
Hey, Southern California, you know what's going on. It's my new hit show, The Scene with Doreen, and I'm your host, Doreen Taylor. Join me every week as I chat with my celebrity friends from TV, movies, music, theater, sports, and everything in between. We explore the lives and careers of some of the entertainment industry's biggest names, with some fun surprises, too. Tune in to The Scene with Doreen Tuesdays at 7 a.m. on KCAA Radio, 1050 a.m.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA. Kyle, take it away.
1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. The stations that leave no listener behind. I'm your co-host, Kyle Kerrigan. We have Sam Works in the house. And we got...
Joe.
Yeah, whoever.
John Joe. John Joe.
Whoever comes up with the best name for him that calls in, we'll give him a free gift card to Starbucks.
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, guys. So, hey, thanks for the caller letting us know that we have a break. Yeah, because we're about to just go over as we do every weekend on Sunday at 7. You guys know how it is. We get into these moments, these conversations, and we just can't stop. We're not yelling through the microphone. It's just we're passionate about what we talk about, right?
Yeah.
People are important.
People are important, and so are you guys. You guys are part of the people. I need some water. But, you know, the one thing we didn't do in the first half of the show was give a shout-out to our sponsor.
SNJRadio.com, no negative news, no politics, just feel good music.
Man, talking about feeling good. I hope everyone's feeling good today.
Yeah.
If you guys want to go back and listen to any of our previous shows or even the first half hour, please do go to, you can go to Spotify, you can go to the website, just look up KCAA, whatever works.
We're on
also,
YouTube.
YouTube and our Instagram Live.
At KCAA, whatever works. We're live
KCAA,
right
whatever
now.
works. Just look it up. Just type that in. You'll find us.
Yep.
There'll be a picture of me that's like super pixelated, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about the last half hour of the show. It's not really a half hour. It's like 20 minutes.
18 minutes.
You know, us people, what we're born to do. Like I used to talk about men specifically. Like men were born to build, like to create, and whether that's building yourself, building a family, building a business, building a boat, it doesn't matter. We're all made to build something, right?
Okay.
Because I don't think we can just live life and just not. You know what I mean? Like if you want a family, you build a family. If you want a relationship, you have to build a relationship. And that's one thing, you know, being naive as I was when I was younger, I was like, oh, that woman out there, like the woman, she's out there. I just got to find her. No, it's it's okay. I used to joke around, and it's like, oh, she's probably on the other side of the world, right? Not knowing she could
probably
be right
is.
here. And the reason being is because you build that relationship. You build that person. You know, she builds you, you build her, and you guys build together as one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like love is not about a discovery. It's about building love. You know what I mean? And building trust. And that's the whole premise of, to me, like being alive is building something, creating something. God created us so we can create as well. What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, my dad always said to me, he says that men can build, but women are the foundation.
Mm.
And so,
We got one of our listeners. He just got uppercut in the gut.
Yeah.
Low shot.
and well, this stemmed from when I was growing up. I wasn't a very good kid, right? I was, authority, just listening to authority was not me. And my dad heard me talk back to my mom one time, and he pulled me aside, and he gave me a really long conversation. At the end of it, he goes, what you say to your mother right now is what you're going to say to your future wife.
Mm.
And he goes, if you continue down this path, you're never going to start a family. And something kind of stirred in me that day, And so, growing up, I was better growing up, but, I think the stress of building is what we don't need, but I think it's inherently in us that we do it, because like in psychology, it's like the hunter-gatherer, mindset, but at the end of the day, I think it's about more providing than anything.
Okay.
So he says hunter-gatherer, then immediately in my head I just thought fight or flight.
Yeah.
Because we're
That's
talking
another,
about the other side of it, I mean, okay, we had a conversation the other day, we were talking about business, and the guy I used to be, you're chasing the dollar. You're not, you're kind of like, you're out there and you're just doing whatever it takes to get that. Okay, that's not building. You can be in an industry and you can just be reaping it for whatever you can get out of it for the moment, and you're not building. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, my pennies are so that's success, right? Because my pennies are increasing. Mm. That's how that's how we've all been taught, right? That measures the level of success, right? So have a bank account and lose your business, right? Versus having taken some time and building a client base and building speaking from a business side of things. Yeah. But you look at any relationship, any relational thing that has to do with people. I mean, the first time you meet somebody in a room, you choose whether to engage or be antiseptic.
Yeah.
So right there, you've made a choice. Do I invest a moment of time effort. It could go long because it might be somebody talking about something important. And it becomes, oh, yeah, that's important to them. But the story is important because it plays out in other people's lives, right? Strong. So, you know, building is one of those things that when you got to have this thing called patience. Oh, man. And that's a time-tempered kind of thing, right? Because when you're young, you don't want to hear that. You want to go in fast, hot, and hit, right? And hit it and get what you need from it. And that's kind of how you've been taught. So it seems counterproductive to say, hey, slow down. What do you mean slow down? I'm supposed to speed up. I haven't hit my mark yet. I haven't hit my quota. I haven't hit my, and you see businesses that are like that. But you do have to have a building component if you want that longevity or that lasting ability for your business.
Yeah, and that's
or your
interesting that you said
relationship.
that. Because the first time I've been out of the country, I went to Amsterdam and Namibia. And I spent 5 weeks in Namibia. The biggest shell shock to me was not that it was different. It was that everyone was slowed down. Because in America, you gotta, you're driving to your work, A to B. There's traffic. I don't got time at Starbucks to talk to you. I got to get to work. This and that. People everywhere else stop and have those conversations. Time isn't a thing. Like, when you talk about, hey, I'm going to be there in 15 minutes, they don't know what that is. Because, you could stop and see an old friend, you talk to him for a while, and then you go do the thing. And that's just normal over there. They don't bat an eye. But what happens if you're 15 minutes late to work?
You can get in trouble.
You can get in trouble.
Right.
The first thing someone's going to say is that. Whereas everywhere else, it's like taboo, right? Time is relative over there. And that's why I think people are happier. Because we're not giving it up to God, we're giving it up to time. And so, and I think the biggest thing is, if we put time into a person, we're trying to make that person look beautiful. Whereas instead of putting all that mindset and all that power into God and giving it up, because then you don't have that stress. And that does lower your stress, because then now you're stressing on less things rather than time, time, money, because all that's going to go away when you die.
Well, for some of us, it goes away while you're living.
Exactly, yeah. That's true.
It's come and gone twice here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's that perspective thing when you're either going through the first cycle, right?
Right.
And then by the time you're around third or fourth cycle, you're like, wow, this is what this is? I'm happy to be here alive. You gain a perspective, right, of what living is. Not existence, not the idea that you just exist and that's, okay, I'm going to live to be 150, and
right.
Okay, and live a miserable life. I mean, you definitely want quality, but it comes with that, what do you put out? Right?
Yeah.
What are you putting out? It's a give to get scenario, right?
Yeah, the biggest thing, because I make a lot of friends overseas. The biggest thing I get, why are you talking to me right now? Isn't it like 3 a.m. over there? Time's not an issue for me. You know what I mean? It's more important for me to have this conversation with you than for me to go to bed at 3:17 in the morning. And that's a foreign concept that foreigners have of us. Because what foreigners think of us is, they want to move to America to make it and get on that schedule. But when you're on that schedule, is that really what you're looking for? That's the issue. And so,
Well, we were talking too about, I mean, we get back to the stress thing. Okay, all of it ties into longevity, how long, like quality and all of this stuff.
Right.
But, you look at environments, I've been in, we'll just say I've been in environments from A to Z, whether they were corporate, whether they were the little job versus people handling $1 billion or whatever, and watching that. And you see that the environment and the creative stress within that, whether it's a little environment or whether it's a multi-million-dollar environment, there's no cap off. The little environment, they'll create the same amount of intensity of stress that the people over here are doing. So, I mean, that's what if we were going to help people, alleviate stress, that's what we need to do. We need to get in there and figure out what it takes to get them to have a different mindset, right, about that environment. And so when I was able to consult and I go into environments and I'd say, okay, look, you've hired me, you've paid me money to tell you what your problems are. And you're the people that know what the problems are. You created them, so who better to fix it?
Right.
That's the reality, right? Yeah. So what, I'm supposed to just sit there and point out all your communication problems, Well, what is it? What you created it. So we do that. I don't care what the environment is. This radio station gig, you've got your set of politics and you got the hierarchy and you got stuff going on and people that take charge naturally and others that, sit back and, every environment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you could definitely say you can create your own little pool of stress out of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be aware of it. Can you imagine an environment of people who are aware of it? Wow. Nobody starts the conversation that way,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You show up for work at such and such and do this job and, and it becomes mundane, and if you're puking, you should have already been looking for another job somewhere else about, 6 months before you started, feeling like that about the job.
I've heard stories and I've met one or two people in my life who okay, we're talking about reducing stress, all right? Yeah. But I know people who, when they run out of frequency of high stress all the time, and the moment when life is good, they cause more stress because life is good. Like they have to have that high frequency stress because that to them that's the norm.
It's that sense of losing control that gets them back on track.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll even tell you, I function on that. I function on stress. They look you straight in the face. I function on stress.
I'm that guy.
It's like, what are you doing, man? You're just telling yourself that so you can keep on doing what you do.
So, in a small degree,
2 minutes.
I am that person because a good example is when I'm serving. Like when it's slow, man, my mind starts to wander. I forget, drinks or refills, whatever. But when it's packed, I'm like, okay, I need to do boom, 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 boom. I am so hyper-focused on it.
Yeah.
But it's such a bad thing that you have to be in that position in order to be that efficient.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you are that efficient, no matter what position you're in, you're solid.
Now, to cap it off real quick, if you don't understand human fallibility, all the relationship stuff's going to fall apart sooner or later. You've got to realize you fail, other people fail, and you've got to come to grips with that.
All right, you guys. Well,
love on people.
That's a good way to end it. That's a good way to end the show.
Just love on people.
Love on people. All right, you guys, just into Whatever Works. Stick around for the Ferran Show at 8 o'clock. Thank you guys for listening and supporting us. We'll be back next week with another guest, guys. Stay blessed. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Never stress. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah, hey, every day can be a better day despite the challenge. All you gotta
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California. We are KCAA.
Our food supply is facing total destruction. Big Ag and Big Farm are using new CRISPR technology to genetically modify every fruit, vegetable, and grain.